Swift optionals are a core language feature. Almost every Swift project will make use of optionals, and we have many built-in ways for handling optionals in our code. In this video, I will share some of the lesser-known techniques for working with optionals that can make our code cleaner and safer. First, let's look at how we can apply a transformation to an optional value. Let's say we have a string that stores how many minutes someone walks per day. It's a string because it comes from a server or user input, or from somewhere else where we can't control the data type. We need to perform an operation on this number, and we first convert it to an integer. String to integer conversion can fail, so it returns an optional integer. Now we want to calculate how many minutes the user walks per week. We need to multiply this optional integer by 7. We can't perform a multiplication on an optional directly, and we might write something like this. We first define a walk minutes per week constant, then we try to unwrap the optional. If it contains a value, we multiply it by 7 and assign to walk minutes per week. If it doesn't have a value, then we assign walk minutes per week to nil. While this code works, it's very verbose. Instead of this, we could use the map method. Now it becomes a single line of code. The map method will only evaluate the closure if the value is not nil. Then pass the already unwrapped value to the closure. And we can multiply it by 7 without any issues. If the value the map method was called on is nil, then it will return nil straight away. So we can simply assign the result of the map to the walk minutes per week directly. The map method on optionals provides a clean and simple way to transform values without the need for extra conditional checks. Some optionals in our code may represent single-use values, like tokens or vouchers, for example. And once the value is consumed, the optional should be assigned back to nil. Here we have an example with the training voucher. We unwrap the voucher and redeem it. Then we manually assign it to nil. This code is not incorrect, but it can be improved. Instead of unwrapping the value and setting it back to nil in two different operations, we can use a special method just for cases like that. The method is called take, and it was introduced in Swift 6. This new method takes the current value of the optional and returns it. It also assigns the optional to nil at the same time. If we try reading the training voucher later, it will not contain a value anymore. The introduction of take was part of the larger effort to support non-copyable types in the Swift 6 release, and it also added the take method to the standard optional for all types. Using take reduces the risk of accidental repeated access and makes one-time consumption explicit. Now let's look at an example with multiple optionals. We have two optional values here: puppy age in months and puppy weight in kilograms. Imagine that we have to process them together and perform an action based on both values. We might write a long if-else statement, trying to unwrap each value individually, like this. But this is a bit messy and it's easy to miss a permutation, especially if we had even more values to process. We could simplify this logic by using a switch statement. Now, each combination of presence and absence of values is handled explicitly, and I think it's a little easier to read. Note that we're using the value ? syntax here. This way, the case will only match if the optional is not nil, and give us the unwrapped value to work with. Another important benefit of using a switch statement here is that now the compiler can check if we missed the permutation and refuse to build. Xcode will even tell us which case is missing. In our example, it's the combination where the first optional has a value, while the second one doesn't. In our next example, we have an array of optional values. The puppy names array consists of optional strings. Some names are present, while others are nil. Imagine that we want to iterate over this array and perform an action on elements that are not nil, like broadcast each puppy name one by one. The most straightforward approach would be to write a simple for loop, and then add the unwrapping logic for optionals inside the body of the loop. But we can also do it differently. We can use the pattern matching syntax with case let name ? Then the loop body will execute only for elements that are not nil, and the value inside the body will be already unwrapped. Apart from making the code a little shorter, it also makes it more explicit that the loop only concerns itself with valid, non-nil data. And here is a bonus tip. Since the case let name ? syntax unwraps the optional, we can perform extra checks on it using the where clause. For example, we may only iterate over puppy names that are not nil and also start with the letter L. This wouldn't be possible to do if the name variable was still an optional.